tired. I'm talking
I
about.
do.
And no, and well, I was hungry.
We both tired and hungry. Look.
And so I was kind of a little off kilter, but I'm trying to keep on track.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make sure you stay on track.
Okay. Just don't embarrass me.
I'm not gonna embarrass you. Did I embarrass you last time?
No.
All right then. What you
Well, a
talking
little
about?
bit.
How?
It's getting sketchy. I mean, when you talk about virginity, you're talking about.
Yeah, I think about sexual intercourse.
Maybe I exaggerated by saying maybe one time. I probably had sex maybe way more than one time. You know what I mean?
It's getting sketchy.
Yeah, it's getting sketchy only because of the fact that I don't want to tell the whole thing. Vulnerability.
That embarrassed you?
A little bit. That made it seem like I was lying.
You was lying a little bit, but it's okay.
No,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you
I was
embarraed.
kind of.
You was capping a little bit.
Yeah, I was.
a little cap.
Yeah,
A
just a little bit.
But it made it funny because you admitted it. Like, okay, I just
don't
don't
wanna
want these
talk.
people in my business.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And at the end of the day, truth be told, none of these people want you in their business like that. They ain't even bold enough to even
Do it.
come and talk about it. And none of their mamas ain't gonna come on here and tell them
That's true.
half of the lick of the truth I'm getting from my mama right now. So
That's true.
don't even trip. I got you. Did you touch that? Would you put your lips on that?
I did not touch nothing.
You was going to work on my bowl.
No, I wasn't. I only had one. Only picked
But
one
which
out.
one did you
I didn't
dig
touch
your hands
none
in
of
and
none
get?
of them. None of them.
You did dig
One-
your hands in
one
my
of
bowl and get
It was
one.
way over
Whoa!
there. It was way over there.
Put all of that in my bowl.
It was way over there.
So for real though, we need to get this going. So you went into the effects of how broken you felt at that time when you were severed from your daughter, and you begin to just elaborate on what that did to your spirit and what it did to your mindset and things like that, and how that permeated or overflowed into how you did relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Hence how you went and you met Selena's father or my little sister's father. I'll let you go ahead and elaborate on that experience.
I met him and he introduced himself as a single man.
Okay.
And I believed everything he said because he had a charm about him.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we will meet men that have a charm about them. They know what to say, you know, they're seasoned in how to be romantic and they know what you need in order to keep you in the space where they feel comfortable being around you. And so he started off with flowers. After the flowers, he showed that he was a communicator, that he had conversation. And that was intriguing because a lot of men that I was acquainted with in family and out of family weren't very talkative. Because when a man is communicating with you, you don't have that many questions. Basically, you're just listening and you're
assessing, you're collecting data.
You're collecting data, right? And you're wondering, you know, like, is this really true? Is all this
You're trying to discern it, but like you said,
your discerners,
the pain altered your discernment.
It did.
In the information and the data that you were collecting. So you're not even able to sift through these files properly or effectively.
Exactly. So I fell in love with a lie.
Okay.
Basically. And I found out that I was dealing with a man who was hurt himself because his spouse that I didn't know anything about was having a baby from another man. And he was in the midst of, I suppose, what he felt was a faithful marriage and was rudely awakened to see that the child that was being born
was not
was
his.
not his.
And
And
so
so he acted out of hurt and anger. We both were acting out of hurt and anger. But I didn't realize that he was acting out of hurt and anger, and he didn't realize I was acting out of hurt and anger.
so unbeknownst to the both of you,
Came together with a baby that was being expected to be his, with the hope that it would heal the hurt,
both of your trauma.
both of our trauma. I was hoping that your baby sister would heal my trauma, the void of not having you, and finally having control. This is my baby. Can't nobody tell me that I can't raise my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's taking my baby from me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of the bond that you noticed that I had with your sister, because it was like she's mine and nobody is taking her, and nobody can tell me that I can't take care of her, and I am going to raise her.
Right. So although we had a maternal bond, I don't want to take that away from you in our last conversation, because you said, no, I got to breastfeed you, I got to hold you, I got to change your diapers, all the things. However, after that 4 months, that connection was severed.
Right.
And I began to connect with my aunt in a more maternal way as I got older. You never had to really disconnect from Selena in those primal years of her development. You guys were able to stimulate that. And I would sense that as a child, even up until, I'd probably say young adult. I always had that I sense of my mother. I know that she is closer with my younger sister than she is me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited when I found out that you were having a baby. I remember there was a time when we were separated for a while. I think Selena was around 2 years old or something. And I seen her and we just ran.
I remember that day. You both looked at each other like y'all were waiting for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all ran towards each other and hugged each other. And it was so animated. But then I also remember a time later on where I could see growing resentment building up. And I didn't understand what the root of it was, because I didn't understand everything that was going on.
Right.
Because I was still pacifying my pain. I had went from pacifying my pain with relationship to pacifying my pain with marijuana. The effect that it had on my life was, it clouded my vision. It caused me to be in a stagnant, procrastinating cycle
Fogginess.
of fogginess that was also a pacifier. And I just was going from alternating from pacifier to pacifier. Oh, and I didn't even realize this until now.
What?
Church services pacified me. And then I went into becoming, where I stopped with the marijuana and I became a worship junkie. And I began to worship the pain away.
Okay.
I found that being in the presence of the Lord and saying hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, and crying out to God brought the presence of God in such a comforting way in my life that I didn't feel the pain.
Well, I feel like a good way to handle it.
It is an excellent way to handle it when you understand that it's not just about the feeling.
Okay.
You see, because
so it was emotional idolatry in a sense. No matter how you were going about it, you still weren't letting God be who He is to the situation because it was more about the feeling for you.
Exactly. And I didn't realize that it was emotional idolatry because I was so content with being pacified. That was my goal. Get away from the pain.
Now, when you say pain, because now you know you're in another relationship with Selena's father, you guys both are really just trauma bonding. So tell me, what were other pains, new pains that were being birthed and that you were experiencing to feel like you had to have such an outlet to cope?
Well, whenever we act upon pain, we invite shame. So I was reacting to his shame, and he was reacting to mine, and it became violent. We began to physically fight. I threw the first blow. That triggered him to say, "Oh, this is the type of woman I'm dealing with." That was how we handled our frustrations. I mean, would get so angry sometimes that I would just sneak him and punch him in the face, just out of nowhere, pow! And then one time he got so angry, he said, "Pow, pow, 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 pow," till I fell on the floor. Combinations in my stomach. And he said, "I've been wanting to do this for a long time." And, it was just getting vicious. And one day, one of the neighbors came over, and it was a guy, and they were in the living room talking, but something in me wanted to hear the conversation.
Okay, you wanted to eavesdrop.
So I closed the door, which was not in their sight because they were in the living room, and I sat on the stairs and I listened. And the answer was given because the conversation was about a word that I had never heard before. So I didn't know what jonesing meant, but the context it was used in made me understand. "Man, I've been jonesing." And the guy knew what he was talking about all the while. And I was sitting on the stairs and I was saying, "Jonesing? What is jonesing?" And he said, "Man, I just been wanting to have a hit, like I've been wanting to have a hit, and I've been really jonesing, like
fiending for
like fiending for it." Like, exactly.
Gotcha.
Right. And so I was like, "What he fiending for?" And come to find out, there was a coke addiction that he had that he went back to.
Okay.
And it really affected his behavior. It changed who he was to the point where things started getting real toxic.
So it went from romance and a flower, and then he switches because, unbeknownst to you, he's under the influence of hard drugs.
But I believe that I had something to do with pouring salt in his wound. As I said, I was acting out of pain. The main thing that I did that hurt him was I didn't think he was coming. I'm in Albany and I'm thinking I'm alone again. But this time I'm alone with a baby. And I did something shameful.
What's that?
I slept with a man while I was pregnant.
Okay.
And then I introduced him to the man when he came. He found out somehow my address. He sent the police to my door. They banged on my door in the middle of the night and told me that he was going to be on the Greyhound bus tomorrow morning and to meet him there. My motive for like introducing him to the guy wasn't a boyfriend. He was actually an older guy that I knew when I was younger.
Okay, so some old friend.
Yeah, he was older than me, like a lot older than me. But I knew him when I was younger. But he was way too old for me when I was younger. But now that I was a grown woman,
it was cool.
it was cool. I thought it was cool. He thought it was cool, and
cool at the time.
I was under the impression that you couldn't hurt the baby if you was already pregnant, and
You did what you did.
I did.
So now he knocks on your door. It's the middle of the night. Is the guy over there that you're kind of just
no,
like
he wasn't. He
there?
didn't live with me. He never even had been to my apartment. The reason why I introduced him is because I was trying to be honest about everything, not understanding that you're dealing with someone who is angry, wounded, not even divorced yet, working on getting their divorce, getting ready to have a new baby. And this is not something that you want to be honest about at this point because he's not going to be able to gracefully accept that level of honesty. He's not ready for that. I'm thinking I'm doing a clean the slate type. I mean, I'm thinking he's gonna say, "Well, at least you were honest with me. At least you told me." Instead, it was like, "You nasty, you nasty."
Right.
You know what I mean? How you gonna have how you gonna be with another man while you are pregnant with my baby, and then you're gonna introduce me to him?
But this is what you mean by you were salting his wounds and the part that you played. So automatically when he comes into now more trauma and more drama. What transpired where you guys could all be in the same room together if this man had never been in your house?
We went to his apartment.
So you took him over there.
I took him over to the apartment.
Did you warn the new guy that or the childhood friend, like, look, this is what I'm gonna do and I wanna have this? So I just took him over there and I was like, "Hi, how you doing?" He was like, "I'm doing fine." I sat on his bed. I was like, "This is my baby's father, and this is such and such." And I introduced him. And on the sneak tip, he told me, "Don't tell him what we did. Just make it like friends.
Just make it like friends. Don't tell him what we did."
But you was like, I gotta be honest.
And I was like, I can't live with this. I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him the truth. I can't just be living with the fact that I slept with you. I could barely like digest it myself that I really did this. But I was like, he had like marijuana. He had to set up. The whole thing. He was going out doing his thing, whatever he was doing during the day, and he just left me there with. I could smoke as many joints as I want. I was just smoking joint after joint after joint. When he came home, I was like, zooted. Yes. Okay, and numb. Yeah, that's what it does. To the pain of everything. Yeah. And it was just like I was in a euphoric heaven of escaping. I don't have to feel none of this. None of this. Yeah. Right. I'm not proud of it, but I definitely know that we can go there. Okay. As human beings, none of us are above going there. And it just takes the right circumstance or lack of knowledge or sensitivity to go that low. And I went that low. And I felt very bad about it. And I wanted to come clean. And it seemed like it disappeared. But it didn't. The violence and the hostility, and then him going and pacifying the pain even more. You know what I mean? And the insecurities. I couldn't even study my chemistry. I was going to school to be a nurse. All right. I couldn't even go to the library and study my chemistry for a couple of hours without him suspecting that I was with someone else. The distrust. It's like, if you could sleep with another man while you are pregnant with my child. I'm just thinking about the psyche. Yeah. What else can you do? You have built an insecurity in me that's making me look at you. I can't even really respect you the way that I want to respect you as my baby's mother because of what you did. Okay. So this is all formulating, stewing and brewing between you two, and the relationship just became more violent. You
what
had a
happens
dream.
next.
You had a dream.
So I had a dream.
You had a vision.
How old was I?
You was only 4.
And what did I say?
You
What
were
happened?
4. You said, Mom, I had a dream that he shot you.
And what did that do to you?
It jolted my spirit, and I didn't doubt it because he had guns, and you didn't even know he had guns.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his guns hidden in a drawer, and you didn't even know that he had guns. And you also didn't know the level of combat,
Hostility going on between you two. True, because even now I'm just really understanding how violent it really got. But I do remember little things, and maybe you can clue these pieces together for me. There were times where I felt like Selena wasn't with us. He wasn't there either. And me and you were just together. And I was accompanying you on a lot of ventures, it seemed like, throughout the day. I remember us kind of walking about. I feel like we were at some type of travel station or something. I don't know if it was an airport. I don't know if it was a bus station, but there was a table, and this table had some guys there that were selling like oils and incense and things like that. And I remember you got acquainted with one of the men at the table. I remember us going and looking at apartments with like real estate people. Then I remember coming downstairs one day. You're sitting on this man's lap, and you're like, come here, and you show me a wedding ring. And I remember just being so confused because it was a house that I known for me, you, my sister's father, and my sister to be in. And if I remember, he was the man that when we would go to those travel stations, he was one of the guys standing there at the incense tables. One more thing, and I remember it being like the middle of the night. I'm literally grabbing toy bags, whatever I can handle. I'm not that strong and I'm not that fast. You're towing things as well, and we're literally walking blocks to one of the places that I remember us going and looking at. And in the middle of the night, we're moving to this place. So go ahead, make that all make sense for me.
Okay. Well, I went through a period of homelessness and instability with a roof over my head. So there were some tumultuous times when we were going here, going there, just to have a roof over our head.
Right.
And we were in a shelter in New Jersey.
I remember that.
Me, you, and your sister. And those rough times were after I had escaped from. I actually escaped from your youngest sister's father because I felt endangered. I knew that he had gotten involved with cocaine, and I knew that the relationship had gotten very toxic, and I didn't want any hurt, harm, and danger to come to myself or my children because of an accident or a freak, whatever. So I remember meeting my first husband. I didn't know he would be my first husband because I didn't agree with the doctrine he had at his table, and he was of another faith. He was actually a part of a Muslim sect called Ansars, and they wore these white robes. And I remember going to the table and reading the doctrine. And I always loved the incense and the oils because, like we mentioned, you brought me this gift. I always was into fragrances and just smelling nice.
Right.
And so that was like my stop. Get some oils, get some incense. But there was literature on their table. And the literature was speaking against the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And it struck me because it reminded me of I accepted Christ when I was 11 years old, but I didn't have an acquaintance with the Word of God. So I was introduced to legality and um, the legalism of what you can't do, what you can do. And I was in and out of the church growing up, but I had a sense of knowing that Jesus Christ is Lord, um, and that He did rise from death. And I had a very strong conviction about that because at that point in my life, I did have an encounter with the Holy Spirit when I was 17. And here it was a few years later where I had drifted away from the faith of what I was used to doing, going to church services and stuff. But in the midst of that, I got into like a back and forth conversation with them. This is not true, I said. This is false doctrine. And of course, they were offended and they laughed me off the block and mocked me. And I went into the side Burger King. I always wrote poetry um, as an outlet. Um, I recognized that I had a gift because after I would write it, it was like I released a little bit more hurt. And after I read it, I received some healing. And I had just finished writing a poem, and he followed me, my first husband. He followed me into the Burger King, and I went up to him and I said, I just got finished writing this poem. I said, and I want you to hear it. And I read the poem and I can't tell you what it said.
Okay.
But I told him, I said, and I just want you to know that you and your friend, y'all really hurt my feelings. And you made me feel small as if I wasn't, what I had to say didn't mean anything. And at that point, he said, I'm seeing another side of you right now. And he said, do you mind if we sit down and talk? And I said, I don't mind. I said, but I just want you to know you hurt my feelings. And he began to say things that would attract a woman that was feeling lost, that needed a refuge.
Oh, he was running some game
He
on you
ran
then.
game.
Okay.
He ran game. And the game that he ran was a reality of his world. But it was at the same time something that I had no idea about.
But what you was about to get into
What I was
if
about to
you
get
took him
myself
up on his offer.
exactly. And so what he told me, he said, wouldn't you want a man? Do you want a man in your life that can protect you, provide for you, help you, nurture you, and bring you to a place of polishing, where you would be able to learn how to do things that women do, like sew and cook, and the men go out and do the work. I was always used to going out and doing working and doing what I had to do
So
to
he's
survive.
here selling you
And
this
so
dream,
he's here
like
selling me this dream, and I'm saying, who wouldn't want that? Everything that I was like, I was ready for that.
right.
I want that.
Like, where do I sign?
Where do I sign up? I wanted to sign up. And yeah. And so he came over with his friend. They had on their long white robes. I wind up marrying him after knowing him for 1 week.
So you got married after 1 week. So this
After 1 week.
explains I come downstairs and you're introducing me to your husband.
I was in a real dangerous situation. I was married to him, and your sister's father was on the road. I didn't know what day he was coming back. I just knew I had to get out of there before he came back. Now I was married, and there were loaded guns
in the house,
and
you got to get out of here.
I got to get out of
and
there.
He told you protection.
Quick.
He was going to protect you. He was going to save you from this abusive situation.
So one of my brothers came and picked me up, and you and Selena, and we drove to the mosque. And when we got to the mosque, we was in this big room. It was cold. It was about 2, 3 in the morning.
Okay.
And we met the Emir of the mosque.
I remember that.
And he had all gold teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And he was waiting for his wives
Plural. His
to
wives.
to come and interview me.
Okay.
To see if I was qualified to be a part of the mosque.
Okay.
We left all of your pretty dresses, all of your clothes. All we had was the clothes on our back because
Just up and dip.
I brought the whatever it was that we would have garments, holy garments that we would be wearing, and we had no need for any of the clothes the Western civilization was wearing.
Okay.
And we're all wearing holy garments.
Okay.
So I'm like, back to holiness.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
I'm escaping the nastiness. I'm escaping the shame. I'm escaping the marijuana. Ain't no smoking in here. I'm back to holiness.
I'm delivered.
I'm delivered. I've been delivered. Right. We're waiting. It's cold, and I brought the guns with me, not with the intention to steal the guns. I didn't want his father to come after me. When we got there, here comes, well, actually, at that particular time, he wasn't my husband.
I get it.
Okay,
Y'all weren't married yet.
We weren't married yet.
But this is within the week
this was
before
within
the
the
marriage.
Week, right, before the marriage.
He had to convert you first.
Right. And he didn't convert me either, because once I saw that man snap his finger and point to where those women
wait, so they had you up until you seen the wives with an S. Up until you seen the wives.
And when he snapped his finger and pointed to where they were supposed to sing,
and they all went and
sat. I was like,
oh, this is
no. Nah.
Yeah.
This is not
for me.
This is not for me
this
at
is not
all.
For me.
So, but I didn't outwardly express that.
You was cool about it, but you was peeping game.
I could have been put in a very dangerous situation for me
for
and
sure.
You, because I was in an atmosphere that wasn't in our favor. So when I saw that and I knew what they were coming for, I knew I needed some wisdom. They basically asked me some key questions. And one of the questions they asked me was, well, if you got into a conflict with somebody, one of the women in our quarters, how would you handle that? And I said, I would pray. Then they said, what's the difference in what you believe in and what we believe in? And I said, well, what you believe is that 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. But what I have been taught to believe is that 1 + 1 + 1 could very easily equal 1. But as I reflected on that, over the years, and thought about that experience, I saw where God was giving me the wisdom to not only get out of there, but to deliver him out of there.
Okay.
So he was on the verge of being a Ymir himself. He was very intelligent. He had learned the Arabic language. He dropped out of college to join the mosque. And he just had a very high IQ. And because of that, he was very condescending. Because here I am, this roundaway girl, very naive. My vocabulary is not even as eloquent as his. He was very deep, and I wasn't that deep. I wasn't that educated. And so a lot of his mannerisms sometimes towards me were very condescending.
Okay.
And the things he would say.
Okay.
And he wanted to control me because he was taught that was ingrained in him. He had been in the mosque long enough to learn that mannerism, and he didn't understand that the woman is not under you. She's not behind you. She's designed to be by your side, to help you, And so with that controlling spirit that he was operating with, he did not understand what he was doing to me as a woman from what my history was.
Helping them to tear down.
Yeah, and it was another toxic relationship, to the point where I knew you and Selena knew me, and you were more comfortable with me reading you the bedtime story. But he insisted and demanded
that he
read the bedtime story. And it ended up where he wanted to read the bedtime story so bad that he began to beat on me in front of y'all.
I remember this. So I'm in the room, you're reading me a bedtime story, and he comes and snatches the book, throws it, it goes behind the bed. He begins to whomp on you. And I remember standing up and getting to the corner of the bed on the wall, like screaming, like,
because he felt like he was the man. He wanted to be that father figure. You all were getting to know him. You wanted.
It had only been a week.
It had only been a week, and you know it wasn't even a long time. That and he wanted to jump right in. It's something that I did backwards.
What?
I didn't even know how old he was. I just knew how old he looked.
How old did he look, and how old was he?
Oh my God. He looked like he was about maybe a year or two older than me. I was only 22.
Okay.
He was 19.
Oh, so he was younger than you.
And he wanted to be the man.
Okay.
And it was like he felt like I was saying, no,
you can't be a man. You were taking away his masculinity.
Yeah, you can't do this. This is my territory.
So it's like this power trip.
And so it was a real power trip. And it turned violent, and it was like, oh my goodness, we're repeating this thing again. He wasn't shy about it at all. He was very, very militant about it, and he felt like his militant way was justified because of what he had been taught.
This situation begins to get violent. And now, how long did you stay married to him?
We were married for 2.5, going on 3 years, and separated 6 times.
Oh wow! So it was just that bad. Did you guys have any mentorship or counseling within
we got the counseling books to go through the counseling, but it never was like followed through till the end, because I remember the pastor that was counseling us, he looked at him and he said, I love you, but I don't like it. And that made him not want to be counseled by this particular
I can
pastor.
see why. He felt like at this point it's going to be biased.
Yeah. And so he did make that statement, and I don't remember us going back to counseling after he made that statement.
Okay, but something happened because you didn't wind up getting into the community, the mosque, where we continue to be raised in the Islamic faith. So how did that turn where we're not now participating in the Islamic community?
I realized I was in trouble. I realized I was in a desperate situation that could have caused lives to be lost. As I mentioned, there were 2 loaded guns in the house. One man was on a drug kick. The other one was on a control kick. And it was just going to be an explosion. And so I felt the need to go on a 3-day fast because I felt the desperation for the Holy Spirit to intervene.
To be near.
It had gotten totally out of my control.
Okay.
And I didn't know what to do with it. It was like I was holding a bomb and it was about to explode. And if nothing supernatural happened, it was going to explode.
So you needed to go there in the spiritual realm, which required fasting.
It required fasting and praying. And I went on a 3-day fast, and he went on a 3-day fast with me.
Oh, did he?
However, he was doing stuff like washing his hands, washing his feet. It was too much. And I told him, I said, listen, you fast your way and I'm going to fast my way, but we're going to go on this 3-day fast.
Okay.
I said, but I all that stuff, that's just too extra for me.
Okay.
So you do it your way, I'll do it my way. And he agreed.
Okay.
And the Lord began to deal with me in a way that he had never dealt with me before. And he began to prophetically speak things that caused him to convert to Christianity. He began to reveal things about his personal life with words of wisdom and words of knowledge and prophetic. It was just prophetic utterance that started coming out of my mouth when the fast was over.
Okay.
And he got to the point where he was freaked out and he thought Allah was talking to him.
Okay.
And he was like, Allah, Allah. And I was like, no, this is not Allah. This is Jesus. I said, this is the Holy Spirit and this is Jesus. This is not Allah. I said, and you need to understand that this is the Spirit of Christ that is revealing these things. This is not Allah.
Okay.
And I let him know you have to call on the name of Jesus if you want him to make you free and allow you to walk in the liberty that God created for you to walk in. And at that time, a trust was created about the voice, the things that were being said, to the point where he converted.
Okay.
He took off the Muslim garments, but he still had that the mannerism. He had not been delivered and filled with the Holy. He had not been converted. He just said Jesus,
He just denounced.
He denounced the
Allah and accepted Jesus.
And accepted Jesus, right? And so I knew I had some work to do as far as praying and fasting to get him to the place of conversion.
Okay.
So I was willing to work on it, but in the midst of working on it, I was combating. I was combating, and it was just so like rough because we're more fragile than we know. One blow could take us out of here. You know what I mean? And then, when you have children and they're seeing these things can really affect them for a lifetime, especially when they don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what we deem to be normalcy. After a while, you get desensitized to it, and you begin to think that this is normal for to be world war going on in the house.
Oh, but yeah, it's right. Real, and it happens, and it's a lot of things that happen in our lives are not addressed. They're not spoken about. That's why I love that podcast, Hardly Initiated. Yeah, you hear people cursing on there sometimes. Yeah, you hear, the real, it's not just one perspective. It's the opposing perspective. I really love Hardly Initiated. Shout out to
Hardly
Tyshawn
and Ryan.
And Ryan. It is really good to address those hard topics, and it makes you free, to be able to address them. Well, anyway, I was delivered out of that marriage, not because I divorced him, but while recuperating in the nursing home, he sent me a divorce. And
wait a minute now. So before we get to the divorce,
okay,
let's now move into the fire. So we talked about these tumultuous relationships.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then